Welcome to Trustee Talk. I'm Dick Murgatroyd. Thank you for joining us. And also joining us today, our guest is one of our new trustees here in Anderson Township, Josh Girth. We had a chance to meet you and Andrew Pappas at the very beginning of the year when you guys were just getting started and the journey was just beginning. And so that's our first chance to kind of hear from you and get an idea of what's been happening, what's going on. I was looking in Insights. We were talking about Insights magazine. I know everybody gets Insight, right?
That is correct.
Anderson Township.
Yep.
And there's a nice article in there about you and Andrew and some of the things you're doing and some of the things you're looking at, which I thought was good. And gosh, you look pretty good in that picture.
Well, thanks.
Yeah, it's a little dark, but maybe they did that on purpose. Oh, no, that's not true. Anyway, so how's it going? What's happening? What's, first 100 days under your belt? What have you found out? What's been good? What's been not what you expected?
Yeah, by and large, it's been very good. There's a lot of stuff going on at the township, and one of the things that I heard when I was running, was, well, it's just the township. I mean, kind of how hard can it be? When you get behind the scenes of an organization, and I refer to this as kind of a company, and Vicki Earhart is our CEO of this 100-employee company, and you see what they've done and how they work and the things that they have to do on a daily basis to keep this township running. It's very eye-opening. Again, mostly great stuff, a lot of stuff that I anticipated seeing when we got in here. But it is eye-opening because it doesn't just run itself, and there's a lot that goes on, and I wish everyone could come in and see what goes on a daily basis and see how well this team performs. I would put Vicki as a CEO of Anderson Township. I'd put her up against any corporate CEO that we have in this city. Her and her team have done a great job, and not only acclimating me to this process, but just the things that they do outside of the 9-to-5 job in terms of their involvement in the community and trying to reach out to people beyond their normal scope of work. They truly have the township's interest at heart, and it's refreshing. It's great to be around.
Well, and I think that says a lot for the township and certainly a lot for her and the team, because the average person probably doesn't see everything runs well, and they don't see what all that goes on and how you make it run well.
Right.
Is more work than what most people imagine. So that says a lot for them, and the fact that they keep it smooth, and you guys and you're blessed to have a staff like that. We are that can help you get through the obstacles and the challenges along the way.
Absolutely, and I one of the things that we did not want to do, I can't speak for Andrew, but I did not want to come in here with some big agenda that I was going to completely change and do a bunch of things, outside of what they were doing and doing well. And the campaign that I ran on was one of the three-legged stool items, if you will, was preservation, and really that was preserving the things that the township does well, whether it's maintaining our bond rating, which fortunately we just got renewed at the AAA rating, one of the highest in the state. Whether it's that or just letting the staff do what they do best, that was definitely part of that campaign that I ran. Was we're not going to come in here and change the things that work well, and certainly Vicki, Steve Sievers, Richard Shelley on the public works side, Suzanne Parker, who's our HR person, Chief Ober on the fire department, Lieutenant Guy on the police department. They do their job, they do it well, and I certainly don't need to tell them how to do it different.
Yeah. Well, and I think the initial, anybody running for office, and when you first run and you first start up, I think your intent, you always think, well, I'm going to get in and I'm going to really make it better and I'm going to fix something. Yeah. And I think that you get frustrated pretty quickly because, having been on both sides of that aisle, been an elected official but also been a staff person, I know from the staff standpoint, they want you to do well and they want you to be a part of it, but they are not. They don't always welcome somebody coming in saying, this is how we're going to do it from now on, know. without much knowledge of what's going on. So for them, it's probably refreshing when they have somebody comes in and doesn't come in with that attitude and feel like they have to do something different, because sometimes you don't have to do anything different. You just tweak what's there maybe, and and so it's refreshing, I'm sure, for them also.
Well, I hope so. I mean, I have spent a lot of time here. I don't know if they like that or not, but I have probably gone a little overboard these first 100 days, just getting my head around what all the different departments are doing. I'm actually going to do a ride along with the police department next week.
Good.
And just things like that, just to get acclimated with how things are running. And certainly from the standpoint that if they ask me my opinion on something, or if they need my advice or opinion on something, I'm certainly going to give it. But the things that I've been doing the first 100 days is really just trying to get in front of the departments and attend as many things as I can to see how things are going. And not only here in the township, but the other thing I've been doing is attending meetings around the county, as well as the state. Mr. Pappas and I went to the OTA conference in Columbus for a couple of days, which is the Ohio Township Association conference. A fun fact, 1,300 townships in the state of Ohio.
Are there that, really?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Now, that there may be too many.
Well,
but what I saw when I went to that conference was, we all have similar issues. Now, we may be on different scale, but it was refreshing to see that regardless of your political affiliation, township government being a very limited form of government, we all have similar, issues and problems and things that we have to deal with. And it was refreshing to be in an area where everyone was on kind of the same page and working for the same results, which was to make their township better. Now, again, I don't know if townships that are, a couple of hundred people, versus Anderson, which is 44,000 people, is there's obviously some differences there. Anderson is part of CLOUT, which is the coalition of large and urban townships, which are townships that have either $3 million budgets or more than 15,000 people. I think that's the right number. But they are in a smaller group of townships, probably 100 or so, that meet that category. And when you rank those two together, between the budget, number of people, Anderson's #1 in the state. I mean, we are the model, and we have a lot of the things that other townships implement because of things we've done here. So it was nice being up in Columbus and seeing how, or attending meetings and hearing about the things that they're struggling with that either we have programs for or we've already addressed here in Anderson Township.
Which does have to make you feel good.
It was great.
And I don't live here, but I've been so impressed ever since we brought our business here. With Anderson Township and the people I've met that are involved in it, and just to see, how it functions. I mean, it functions very well, and financially, you all are on top of it. I mean, it's got to make you feel, and especially when you go someplace like that and other people are looking to you for what you've accomplished. Anything surprise you that you weren't kind of expecting when you came in?
No, I mean, I wouldn't say anything surprising in the sense that there was any major crisis that we had to deal with. I mean, there's always something, whether, it's, either HR issues or complaints about the snow or whatever it is, and obviously we had a crazy winter. So, I mean, I got to see, a few of those issues being dealt with. But, to your point, fortunately, we don't have a lot of the major crisis that some of the other townships and other governments, quite honestly, are facing. So, nothing disappointing in that sense of, coming in here and being, oh my gosh, I had no idea. I mean, we have our issues in the sense that we're always going to be concerned about money. We're always going to be concerned about whether or not we have enough, police and sheriffs on the roads, or whether we have enough equipment for our fire department and all these things. So, there are constant issues that we will deal with over the next 4 years, no doubt about it.
And those are always there. I think those are never ending. I think the fact that you can manage them, and I always get the feeling that you all tend to look ahead you don't wait for the crisis to come. I think you all tend to, at least from what I've seen, tend to try to look ahead to be ready to meet the crisis or deal with the crisis before it gets here.
Correct. Correct.
Which I think is, for government, that's hard to do. The government tends to function today, and they put out the fire today, and and they don't look beyond, beyond that. I think that's why this township runs well, is because you all have that mindset to say, here are the possible obstacles down the road. What are we how do we meet them, and how do we get to them? Have you, are you being able to, I know you came in with your three-legged stool. Are you having the opportunity to try to, forward those concepts so far?
Well, so far, I think, again, it's been more just kind of learning all the processes. But, I did. I mean, I ran on a campaign to preserve, protect, and promote Anderson Township. And preserving, we touched on, was really, not messing with the things that were good and keeping our bond rating high and things like that. Protection is very simple. It is absolutely refers to protection of our residents and the police and fire. We, recently in the March board meeting approved, a rather large sum of money to spend on vehicles related to police, fire, and road maintenance. And, this kind of ties into what I think people don't know about the township, because, it's funny, when I got here and I kind of walked in with this impression, because you hear it in the media, and they like to say, on a fairly regular basis, this tagline of spending taxpayers' money. And you see it, online, you see it in the Journal, you see it, where it's the trustees just approved to spend $1 million of taxpayers' money. So there's almost this notion that there's two buckets of money at Anderson. Yeah. We have the taxpayer money, and then we have this other fund, and we always have to pick which one do we spend the money out of. And truth be told, I mean, I don't know if people know this or not, but every dollar we spend is taxpayer money. No one's just giving us money and saying, okay, use it, use it for
you don't
this
have
purpose.
Other sources of revenue.
We don't. And so that's a little, the sensationalism of saying that in the paper, I understand why they do it, because it certainly garners a response. But I wanted to kind of elaborate today on one particular thing, and that was what we did at that board meeting. Because I don't think what people see in the paper is we spent $1 million on vehicles, but they don't know why. And so I thought what I would do was, pardon me, I brought some notes to make sure I get this right.
No problem.
And I wanted to kind of just elaborate on that, because we did. It was $1 million worth of vehicles that we spent in March. All budgeted items, mind you, but it's a big number to throw out at people, and so I thought I'd give a little history on why we spent that money. And there's a vehicle committee in Anderson Township, and this is a committee consisting of managers and mechanics who not only review the maintenance records of certain vehicles, but also the associated costs with those vehicles and the anticipated residual value of what those vehicles might be worth when we do go to sell. The decision to buy and sell these is based not only on the mileage of the vehicle, but also what is it costing us to maintain this vehicle in the township. And because of that, and because of this committee that they started, which again is another great example of how this township works, this committee has been able to reduce our fleet of vehicles by over 7 in the last few years. And that's a big number.
That's a big number, that's right.
But let me specifically touch on what we did at this meeting. So there was 3 different departments: Public Works, Fire and Rescue, and Sheriff's, that we spent. Public Works, we authorized to spend up to $180,000 for a dump truck. Everyone needs a dump truck, right? But what people don't know, they're not cheap. But the TIF funds and I know we've touched on this in the past, but the TIF funds that we have were budgeted in 2013. They were set aside specifically for the use of this vehicle, because that's money that we can only use on capital projects. And that purchase was delayed until this year. This truck will be fully equipped with salt spreaders, vibrating beds, chains, everything that a truck needs will be outfitted. But the thing that is interesting is that it's going to replace a vehicle that has been in service for 18 years. It's a 1996 vehicle that we're replacing with this truck. Fire and rescue, we authorized to spend up to $530,000 for a new engine, $219,000 for a new ambulance, and another $40,000 for a command vehicle. And again, the engine will replace a 14-year-old fire engine that should have been replaced last year but was delayed another year just because of budget. And the fire department used to replace them about every 10 years, and we've been able to stretch that another 3 or 4 years. The ambulance also was one that was replacing a 2003 vehicle, and the command vehicle replaced one that was bought in 1999. Again, they're new. They're not new additions. They're just replacing vehicles that we have. And then the other one is the sheriff's department. We have 2 vehicles that we authorized spending about $100,000 for. One of these will be sold, and cruisers are typically kept until their odometers reach about 110,000 miles, and it used to be that you'd replace them about 75 or 80. Back to protection, you want a car when you need the police or you need the fire, you want them there as quick as possible. And once these vehicles get to a certain life expectancy, or a certain age, the reliability goes down significantly.
Absolutely. And your maintenance cost goes up.
Absolutely. I mean, absolutely. So, all of these, were purchases that were spent, this year, but certainly were done in a way to offset and minimize the impact, knowing full well that we had to replace these vehicles at some point. One thing to keep in mind with the budget is that our budget that we just approved for 2014 is about $1 million less than it was in 2010. So again, we've made plenty of efforts to try and maintain those costs, and that will certainly be a priority going forward. Fiscal responsibility, along with protecting our citizens, go hand in hand as much as they can. I mean, we certainly want to continue to provide the best service for police and fire, but we will do it the most economically efficient way we can.
That brings, I know one of the things that you were looking to talk a little bit about was that your annual planning meeting and where you talk about long-range capital budget issues will be coming up. What are some of the things that they're going to, that's in June, if I understand.
It is. Our planning meeting for the year is June 5th, and I believe it's going to be held at the Heritage Center, which is the building off 8 Mile and Forest.
Yep.
And it's an all-day meeting where we do focus on what we want to accomplish the next year. Certainly budgeting and contracts related to police and fire and all those things is part of that discussion. But one of the ways that I think, that I don't think people know that they can get involved is actually attending these meetings. Whether it's our board meetings, our planning meetings, people are allowed to come to these. They're open meetings. And I think the township does a phenomenal job of disseminating information out into the public, whether it's our website, which is probably the most up-to-date, the best knowledge is on andersontownship.org in terms of what the latest and breaking news is. But we have other ways. Social media, we have a guy, resident Greg Harshfield, who started AroundAndersonTownship.com. That has now become a big source of information for our residents because he is sending stuff out from the township, from the school district, from the park district. Myself, and I know Mr. Pappas does Facebook and Twitter feeds as well. And then, we also have, these magazines, Anderson Insights, which is just a wonderful publication. This is another way that we get information out to the public. But again, people are allowed to come to our meetings. And I know they're not the most exciting thing that anyone wants to do on a Thursday night, but it is different. You do pick up other information sitting in these meetings than you normally would just maybe by seeing it or hearing it online. Well,
I think too, and as you said, a lot of people, if they're thinking about what they want to do, they said, let's see, should we go to a meeting of the trustees or do we go to a movie? They probably figured, let's go to the movie.
Yeah.
But I think if people did take time to do that, I remember when I was judge executive of Kenton County, no one ever came to those meetings. which was good. I mean, as far, I mean, meant we must be doing okay. And the only time
Yeah.
they came is when they were angry about something, which thank God was not much time. And I know even the media used to say, call us if something happens because your meetings are just really boring. I said, fine, it's okay. I'm fine with that. We'll try to entertain you another way.
Right.
But I think it does give people, if they come, they get a chance to kind of meet and see you guys and know you as people. And I think that sometimes I think they miss out on that part of it.
Yeah.
And gives them a little opportunity to see what you do. I mean, because I think there's still people are never still sure what is a trustee, what do trustees do. So
Right.
I encourage them to come. I mean, I think that's a good idea. But at least you do have many sources of information that they can get information on and see what's going on.
Right.
Let's talk a little bit about. I know that economic development is a big area of your interest, and there's a number of things that are happening in Anderson. I mean, a lot of. I think one thing I've noticed is we must have more tire and oil
Yeah. I knew this was
places on Beechmont Avenue than there are probably in the entire city of Cincinnati. Not true, but I mean, it seems like every place there's a spot we've got a new one.
That is
What
true.
is there? The thing, I guess, and I know you all do have planning, committees and a committee that does look at all this. But I guess, I mean, for the average guy like me, when I drive up and down there every day, I'm thinking, there's a new one. Oh, he's got another new tire. And is there any reason why we're having such a run on tire and oil places?
Well, I'm glad you brought that up because I want to set the record straight. And I'll say this to everyone watching. Anderson Township, the government of Anderson Township, we are not in the oil and tire changing business.
I'm glad to hear that.
Okay, so lest anyone think that we're behind all of these places going in, I want to set the record straight that we are not the ones behind the businesses. We do have a lot of oil change, tire places, and car-related businesses, auto parts, on Beechmont Avenue. There is a reason for that. It's because they do well on Beechmont Avenue.
Yeah, oh, absolutely.
The idea that it was coined the Beechmont Auto Mile rings true in a lot of ways. Anderson Township is a bedroom community. We're 44,000 people. A lot of people have multiple cars. The tire discounters, in particular, now they're just finishing up their store on the eastern side of Beechmont,
It's right across from my office. Yeah.
Yeah. So they were in Union Township. Now they're moved over to Anderson. So now we have two in Anderson, literally about a mile and a half apart from each other. But they're not just doing that because they had an extra $5 million laying around.
They
there's
know
a
what
reason.
they're doing. Yeah.
And despite the fact that we would rather not, have maybe that, type of business, the improvements that they've made to that site, and I'm talking specifically the one on Beechmont where it was an old Mexican restaurant, and it wore several different hats over the last 10 years and was really starting to look bad.
Yeah, it was.
The building now is a new brick, nice building that will increase the property value, where taxpayers will see an increase in revenue because of what they're doing on that site. So, yes, there's certainly, if we could all pick which restaurants and which retailers and which entertainment things we'd like to see in Anderson, unfortunately, we as the township cannot control that.
Which is good to know. I think, those places don't just put a place up unless they are pretty darn sure that there's traffic there and there is a potential for them. And as you said, every one of those really have improved the site where they went on. I mean, the one that is it Valvoline or whatever it is, went on the side of that what used to be a restaurant there, which was kind of a rundown and kind of not too exciting looking. And they're putting up nice structures and they're landscaping. So I mean, I was only kidding you, but I mean, it does seem like whenever there's something open up, say, oh, it must be a new tire store.
Yeah.
Or, you know.
Well, and you hit on a good point, because we do have a great planning and zoning department, and we just won an award for the Downtown Anderson plan. And Downtown Anderson is really Beechmont and 5 Mile east to about Asbury, you know, and it encompasses the Kroger development, Anderson Town Center development, down to where the Anderson Government and Culture Center is, where we are now, and then, you know, over to Asbury Road. That plan, you know, despite whatever businesses may be part of that plan, does include design elements that do allow for a more upgraded architecture and landscaping. So more landscaping along the road, better materials. And again, we can't force someone to do that, but generally speaking, most people have been very receptive to using materials like brick or putting in additional landscaping that they don't need to put in at their cost. And it really has made a difference. And if you drive down Beechmont Avenue today versus 10 years ago, you will notice that difference. We're trying to eliminate more curb cuts. We're trying to make it a more planned unit type of community. But unfortunately, you know, we are working backwards in that sense. So
yeah, you are, but I think that I know there's a lot of effort going into that right now in the whole Beechmont corridor. So I think, and I can understand how difficult that is, you know, to try to go backwards.
Right.
I mean, but it's better, at least they're trying.
Yeah.
We're running out of time, which I can't believe we are, because I mean, you know, it's flown by. You want to say a quick word about Belterra Park?
Yes.
While we got about a minute left.
Okay, yeah, sure, because one of the biggest economic development projects is the opening of Belterra Park, which is scheduled for May 1st. They are working hard. They're here training about every day at the Anderson Center, getting their people ready for this opening. And I think what that's going to do, more than just the center itself, which is going to have great restaurants and entertainment beyond just the gambling, it's going to spark other development around it. And I think is going to be great. And I said it before, we're going to get a hotel in this township if it's the last thing I do. And I got a feeling that it may very well end up down there.
I think you're probably on a good track there. And well, there's a nice article about it in the Insight magazine about the Belterra project. So I think that's going to be real exciting, and I think it is going to lead to a lot of new economic development for the area.
Absolutely.
You know what? We have eaten up our time, and it is always a pleasure seeing you, and always a pleasure talking to you. And I enjoy your enthusiasm, and I enjoy your excitement and your passion for what you're doing, and
Thank you.
Congratulate you, because I know you also have to work for a living, and it probably has taken more time than what you normally would have thought, but thank you for doing what you're doing. We're glad you're there, and we look forward to a number of more conversations we're going to have.
I'm looking forward to them
as time goes on.
Great.
Good to see you. Good luck to you as you continue your journey in this first year, and thanks for your service.
Thank you.
And we thank you for joining us. We thank you for sharing your day with us, at least a part of your day with us. Hope that it has been worthwhile for you, and hope that you the rest of your day will be productive and pleasant, needless to say. And we want to say thank you also to our producer, Nikki Bishop, and our director, Andy Crozier. We invite you to join us for our next edition of Trustee Talk here on ACTV. I'm Dick Murgatroyd. Thanks for joining us this time. We'll see you then.
Thank you.